for people who missed today's meeting. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to the HL7 Fire Connect-A-Thon 20 preparation sessions for the C-CDA Implementation-A-Thon track. My name is Lisa Nelson, and I am going to be your track lead for this exciting new version of C-CDA Implementation-A-Thon. Welcome, everybody. If you are showing up on the attendee list as just a caller, please, if you could, either let us know if you're not online, and that's just give us your name so we can add you to the attendance, or you can press #, enter your PIN, and press # again, and your caller name will be attached and merged with your online name. Another way to deal with that. I wanted to welcome everybody and just let you know that we're going to be supported by our favorite CDA Implementation-A-Thon facilitators, Jean Duteau and Joginder Madra, who will be supporting us when we have the face-to-face session in San Antonio, and support from Dave Hamill from HL7 all the way through. So thanks to my co-leads and co-facilitators who will be helping us with this. If anybody has questions, you can always reach out to these folks, especially if it's questions about logistics. Dave can help with those things. We did want to start with a couple of brief logistic points. Number one, how to get registered for the CDA Implementation-A-Thon. It's now in conjunction with the Fire Connect-A-Thon. So you register for this event in the same way that you register for HL7's working group session, and this link will take you to that main registration page where if you're coming to the working group meeting, you can do that. You can also sign up for the Connect-A-Thon. And if you are only planning on coming to the Implementation-A-Thon, which is in the context of the Connect-A-Thon, it's a little bit different about how you fill out the forms. And just in case that feels confusing, we went through the process ourselves and did some screen captures and posted on Confluence a little registration tip sheet where you can see what boxes we checked and how that worked out, so that you can mimic that to make sure that your registration gets done correctly and only for the stuff that you're interested in. Other logistics questions at this point that you might have if you're thinking about coming to Connect-A-Thon. Everybody is unmuted, so even though we are recording, just for folks that couldn't be here today, if you're comfortable, you can shout out and we'll handle a couple other logistics questions right now. All right, everybody's going to get registered. Register soon. We do appreciate if you do register, because it's just a nice way to be able to keep track of how many folks are going to be coming, and to be able to plan for the size of our group. We have set up some resources to support us going into Connect-A-Thon. There's a Confluence page, which I think I can show you off from this link right here. And on Confluence, there's also a resources page I'll show you where we have started to materialize some things. So the first link takes you to the Implementation-A-Thon space, which is right off from the spaces area here, Implementation-A-Thon. And then underneath Implementation-A-Thons, there are this one right here. There's a few from previous Implementation-A-Thons, but the 2019 January 12th and 13th, that link takes you into the information that we'll mostly be running through today to cover what we're going to be doing and how we will handle the lead-up sessions to there. And this resources link right underneath has everything that I post as we go along. So for example, the prep session PowerPoint that we're seeing today, that's posted right here. And I'll always have the current version. It's just going to be a living document. So the versions will stack up right under this one row. And if you miss a week and you want to come back and get caught up, just download the current prep sessions PowerPoint, and that will have everything in it. And then any materials that we make available, like that registration tip sheet information is right there, and some of the things that we'll be talking about at the end of this session to get ready for next prep session, they've been posted right here as well. So this is a handy dandy spot that you can get to for pretty much everything that you'll need to access these preparation materials. If you're wondering about getting a Confluence account or a Zulip account, you can you just go to confluence.hl7.org or go to chat.hl7.org, and when you get there, you can sign up. You can request a link. Request an account, and they will get you set up. The Zulip area is the place where we'll be keeping. Oh, that's not good. HTTPS, I got to fix that. Where we'll keep all of our comments. We have a CDA stream and we have a CDA IAT topic. And that's what I've been using to start to post all this material. You'll see links to these preparation session meetings. That information is right there in Zulip. Background about what we're doing. Pretty much anything that was posted after November 5th is relevant for the IAT that we have coming up in January. And I'm encouraging everybody to get started on here, start to ask your questions using Zulip. You know, the fire guys have a really active group that find this to be super helpful. And the more that our community gets used to coming to this place as a way of finding each other and asking questions, the better off this tool will be for us. So I encourage you to get comfortable going to Zulip at https://chat.fire.org and get yourself signed up there. I did create a Dropbox. If you're familiar with this, is similar to what we've done in the past. There would be a Dropbox where we can post files and collect information. We have not decided about the best way to organize that yet, but there's an area there where we can start to collect samples. And we made a Google Drive. I have some ideas for ways to collect information at the face-to-face meeting in a spreadsheet. We'll all be able to participate at the same time, collecting information into a single active document. So we'll be using that for that. Those are the main resources that we have set up so far. Anybody have questions about those or need help figuring out how to get access to these resources?
Hey, Lisa, this is Matt Ron with ONC. Can you add the Zulip chat link to the Confluence page?
Yes, I think. Let's look and see if it is. At this level. I believe when you come into the main page, under community discussion, how to use HL7 Zulip chat, and here is the link that if you want to find it from Confluence, you can get it from right here too. Thank you, Matt. That was a good suggestion.
It in the space, right?
In the Confluence space, I put it here. Where else would you like to see it? Andrew, is there another way we can make that link more findable than here? Is there some way you can put it over on this side, like shortcuts or something?
Yeah, we could get it. We could put it there.
It might make it jump out. Is that what you were thinking, Matt, over here on the left-hand side? Or
yeah, I just thought it would be easier to find. I don't know if everyone's going to be going to that every time.
Yeah.
Is that link, I'm trying to pull it up now, but is it anywhere on the Fire Zulip chat? Like, are you able to find that from the Fire Zulip chat?
That I don't know. Dave Hamill might know, though.
You mean the Confluence?
link?
No, there's chat.fire.org, which is a whole different area. People who are used to going to Zulip and in conjunction with Fire, they go to chat.fire.org, and it's a whole different place than chat.hl7.org.
Right.
You can have different logins as well to that.
They do.
Which I do.
Yeah, so the reason why I ask is there's probably a lot more people that log into the Fire one, and there's not many people. Is everyone that's part of the Fire chat also part of the CDA one?
No, they're even separate logins.
Okay. Is there a way to, I don't know if, to me it seems like it might be easier to be part of theirs since it's a track.
Yeah, to get a channel on that side might be good.
Because then people on that side might actually join in once in a while to provide feedback or something.
Okay, I'll take an action item to look at that. Yeah, no, I think that's a good thought, Matt, because I even, myself have been confused about how do I get there? How do I find the CDA related stuff? And when I was over in chat.fire.org, and it didn't make sense to me for a long time. So let's see if, can we have a C-CDA IAT stream on chat.fire.org? Or maybe even link the two.
Yeah, I'll ask our webmaster to see if we ever somehow linked them, or, well, we didn't link them, but, reference the HL7 one on the Fire one.
Okay.
At the last Fire meeting, I had this problem of finding stuff like I always do, and I asked if I can merge my two accounts, the one from the IAT with the Fire, and they said no. So we could still ask, but I don't know that they're connected in any way.
Okay, and maybe we should just bring up one other thing. I wanted to ask folks who are here on the call today how you found out about it. We just had the CDA management team, and we were reviewing that folks had had not received messages in some of the places where we felt that messages had been sent out. Just to do a checkpoint, did anybody get this invitation or via the email list that, Dave, what would you call it? The email list for prior participants of CDA Implementation-A-Thon?
Right, yep.
Could you check, Dave, and see if Rochelle Fernandez is on that mailing list, because she thought she should have received it that way and didn't. And so we're just wondering if something went wrong with how that mailing went out.
No, I'm not sure. Because I know, Rochelle, you are on it.
Yeah, so no one from our team got the email, so I'm not sure. I don't know, we've had, other than me participating, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
Lisa, this is Becky Angelis. I received it via that stream.
That stream. Oh, you did? The email. Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. And Andrew, we think Andrew got his via the listserv, the HL7 listserv, so we think that that's working. Matthew Dougal, how did you find out?
He's with me. He's with Rachel.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And
I sent him an invite.
Samantha?
That's my team too.
Oh, and is Vishak also?
Yep.
Oh, well, Rochelle, thanks for rounding up all your folks. That's great. Great. We're glad you made it here. Okay. So I think that's one thing we just need to kind of figure out a way to improve or to confirm somehow, like put ourselves into the distribution and make sure that it gets all the way through the list and that we're getting it that way too. See if there's any. Matt, Ron, did you have any luck sending the information out to any channels?
I haven't. I have not yet. I've been trying to. I've been speaking with my comps people, so I just see what I'm allowed to do.
All right, great. Well, you guys all get a jump start on things anyway. So here we go. What we're going to talk about now is what we have planned for the agenda over the 2-day track. Saturday, we have 4 quarters each day. Saturday in Q1, we're going to start with a session that looks at encounter summary documents versus patient summary documents. And we will be referencing and utilizing the guidance that was developed out of the Commonwealth Care Quality Joint Task Force last spring that did a good job of really spelling out the expectations and differences for documents that are about a particular encounter versus a document that's about a period of time that summarizes a patient's medical history over that period. And we also will be looking at clinical, oh no, not in that quarter. So we have a whole quarter just focused on encounter summary documents and patient summary documents. The goal of doing this is to, and really the goal of all of the sections that we have planned for this track, is to have the opportunity for implementers to bring samples of what they're generating in order to identify where we have inconsistencies still so that we can work on narrowing the gap between different implementations and come to more common understanding and more consistent representations, everybody understanding things the same way. So that's going to be the first quarter. The second quarter will be about the US CDI, and this will look at the guidance, new guidance, and whatever is available at the time in the way of the latest and greatest guidance around US CDI. And also, it will take advantage of some work that was done this past summer at the Interoperability Forum to go through and look at kind of ranking the maturity of our ability to adopt and consistently represent the different templates that are associated with the US CDI. And during the prep sessions, we're going to identify some areas where we feel like there might be a priority to target because implementers know there to be still remaining inconsistencies in diversity and just things that we want to try and bring together to align about. So that's going to be Q2. And if there's new guidance out, you know, late breaking stuff because of the rulemaking, the notification of public rulemaking, then we'd be focusing in on anything that's new and relevant in there. The third quarter will cover clinical notes, and we hope to see vendors bring examples of implementing a clinical notes section in one of their C-CDA documents and a note activity template. So the note activity template can be really anywhere in any section. It could be in a note section, or it could augment an entry in one of the other sections. So we want people to think about how their implementations are going to be adopting and working with clinical notes templates to free the narrative from the EMRs and begin to integrate this kind of information so that we can compare and see what we can come up with, any kind of consistency around how to do that. And then the final quarter on Saturday will be an exercise to explore converting C-CDA documents with FHIR APIs, dealing with FHIR APIs. So as simple as just being able to have a C-CDA document come through a FHIR API and be recorded with a document reference and be stored in a binary object, all the way through looking at some other mechanisms that allow C-CDA documents that have discrete data in them to be consumed and turned into FHIR documents. Composition resource with underlying resources that represent the discrete entries. And here we'll be exposing people to the mapping work that's been done by Jean Duteau's company, and then subsequently is being worked on now by a project that's running in the SOA group to evolve that mapping guidance one step further. So we'll be looking at that. And that's pretty much the plan for Saturday. I'll cover what we're going to do on Sunday, and then I'd like to open to the group to see if there's any topics that you were hoping to get out of or work on at the CDA Implementation-A-Thon that we have not planned into the agenda. So on Sunday, we begin with a quarter focused on care plan documents, and we hope that we'll be able to focus on really demonstrating representations of this care plan information. Every session, it's gotten better and better and better, and we have more implementers now participating and bringing care plan documents, and we always have some lively discussion about how to represent care planning information in a care plan document for exchange. But we're really hoping to kind of raise the bar and start to generate more samples that we can turn into examples that will become definitive patterns that will help others learn how to create care plan documents in a similar way. So we'll be looking at the 4 cornerstone sections and comparing different groups, how their representations are working to share care plan information. But then we will also be looking at some guidance that came out of IHE. It's called the DSS profile for Document Summary Section. And this is a need that many implementers of care plans have bumped up against in the past, where in order to represent the information in a care plan in the linked way that it is, the relationships that really span across those 4 cornerstone sections, it's required some creative thinking about how to do that. And so in the preparation phases, we'll be exposing everyone to the notions behind this document summary section. And then in the face-to-face, we'll be able to see if there are samples of that and just expose more people to how that works and how that might be helpful for folks that are generating care plan documents. In the second quarter, we'll have an open discussion about provenance. We started at the last working group meeting with a very large group that came across patient care, vocabulary, structured documents. There were even representatives from the FHIR community participating, and we had a really rich discussion about what do we think data provenance is, what does it mean, how do we define it and represent it using data structures available in C-CDA documents. Obviously, there's a provenance resource on the FHIR side, and to some extent we think across that, but we're really trying to focus this conversation to the specifics of what we know and understand about what data provenance is, and then getting concrete about the data structures that are available in a C-CDA document and how we use those to meet the needs of keeping and recording data provenance. So we're hoping that will just primarily be a lively discussion, and we will use our prep session to set some parameters around how to go at discussing this topic in a way that will make it most actionable and useful to implementers. So that's what we'll be doing there. Q3 on Sunday, we will have a session to look at validation, the rubrics associated with the scorecard tool, providing some feedback about the rules that are proposed to be implemented into the scorecard, and raising general understanding and comfortability, and getting people comfortable with using the scorecard tool and understanding how best to interpret the information that comes back from that as a way to drive implementers towards greater consistency and raising the bar on some of the expectations for data representation that really go above and beyond what's captured in the schematron rules. And then I think we'll have in Q3, we'll also have a little bit of a life cycle, a product life cycle discussion, just to talk a little bit about errata releases, value set updates, and some possible planning around an update version of Consolidated CDA, just to socialize those ideas with the community, get feedback from folks on where they're at and what that means to implementers if we were to start to have more movement around generating updated, newer versions of C-CDA templates. And then the track will close out on Sunday afternoon, Q4, covering what we just called emergent topics. We kind of left this space because there's always a lot that comes up over the course of the 2 days that we can loop back around to some of those parking lot items and dig into them more deeply. Or optionally, participants may want to look at some other topics that come up around US CDI. There's some interest around representing social determinants of health coming up in different spaces. We might want to pick a specific topic like that. Or folks that are interested in exploring some of the things that are going on in other fire tracks might choose to go and sit in and learn a little bit about what's going on in some of the other fire tracks. That's what we have planned so far, and I'll stop here and take a few notes to see if there's anything else that you were coming to Implementation-A-Thon hoping to have covered. Rochelle, you have a big team coming. Is this covering everything that you guys were hoping to talk about, or is there anything else that we should be thinking about?
I was actually going to ask if we can get more information on the Q4, the fire intent. I know you said a lot, but the screens didn't say what you were saying. What you were saying wasn't on the screen, so I couldn't take a screenshot of the goal of that track. But if we can, because we wanted to participate in that last time, but it felt like we were on a different track there as far as what needed to be accomplished. So I think if we can get the real goals of track 4 on Saturday defined.
So do you mean C-CDA on fire, or like we were just thinking it would be just opened up for whatever fire tracks? Were you thinking about a specific fire track that you'd like to know the goals for?
When you were reviewing the Q4 and what we would be doing on Q4 on your on your calendar, you talked about binaries, and it sounded like you'll have a real true plan of what you want to accomplish.
There
is
the
fire track. I'm talking about your RQ4 in the IAT meeting.
Oh, yeah. So I'm not really. I mean, right now we don't know what some of the emergent parking lot topics would be. We definitely want to leave time to be able to go over things that we didn't get to dig into during the other part of the day. One topic that has come up so far that just hasn't really had time allocated to it is representation of social determinants of health.
Lisa, I'm sorry to stop you. I'm talking about Q4 on Saturday, the fire. Yeah. So you had talked about very specific, Joginder has an app and we wanted to do some work there or try to use that. Our team, we have an app as well, but I don't think that's the direction of this track. I feel like it's more about creating a document and a composition. And so if we can get more of a task at hand and a goal for that track, our team would definitely want to participate because it's what we do. And we do have a lot of questions and some concerns we can bring to the table, as well as some things we've done towards this.
Yeah, so thank you for clarifying. I was on the wrong day. Rochelle, I will definitely, this is one of the squishiest areas that we have right now. Graham Grieve is working on a transformation tool, which we don't know if it's going to be available and ready or not, if that's even going to be a part of it or not. But regardless, if it is or if it isn't, we also do want to get into this aspect of implementers are creating tools that do transformations. And what we would like to see is if those tools want to demonstrate changing a C-CDA document into a fire composition, how that compares to the mapping. The mapping information is what I would be supplying as a resource for your team to look at ahead of time. And that's where, Rochelle, just for example, the kind of conversation like, well, will results map to diagnostic report, or will results map to some, that kind of mapping is what we want to really do comparisons to see where are people doing the same kind of mappings and where are people doing different mappings.
Okay. And for that, I would really like to see some of the people, if I know we're reaching out to other people to join, and this is outside of this meeting, but if we could reach out to people that have fire apps to make sure that they're part of this, they're certified. So I know Matt has the list of who's certified on those measures, G7 through 9. And so one part of that is to provide the fire document, the complete document, and we're just rendering the XML back. So are other people actually rendering back a composition? And if so, how are they doing that? And can we, is the industry going to do it the same? Because the concept is PHRs out there have to go ahead and they're going to want to pull down a fire document. Are they pulling down the XML? Are they pulling down the fire resource for the document to get the XML? Sounds like it, but I'm just not sure what the industry is doing. And if it's going to be interoperable, we need to kind of do it the same.
Yes. And at MaxMD, we have made our own style sheet. And so, I think that's another place where everybody might be doing something a little bit different, and that would be a good thing to expose. Thank you.
No problem.
Do that. Good. All right. But generally, the content, what do you think we're in a good range of topics for the 2 days? Mostly happy with that? Talk it up with all your friends. Spread the word. Now, the prep sessions, what we'll be doing leading up into that, and that's why it's really helpful, Rochelle, the comments that you just made, that's the kind of work that we'll incorporate into the prep session so we don't show up not having all of that figured out. We're going to run 7 of these in total. There'll be 6 more after today. They will all be recorded. I'm looking at that little recorded button. It's on, so it is recording, and we'll have these available on Confluence. If anybody misses them, you can go back and listen to them. But the goal is to make sure that we get enough of the supporting materials out in sufficient time that you can understand and begin to generate samples. What I'm asking is prior to January 9th. We really want to go into Connect-A-Thon already knowing the materials that we're going to be commenting about and looking at to compare, so that we can spend our time looking for differences, talking about what's challenging and showing and comparing, rather than spending our time trying to generate the samples while we're there. So that's one thing that we're going to do this year a little bit differently. And then I did make a spot on the Confluence site for people to post things just in case you have any trouble using. I know sometimes we have a mixed bag of people who can and people who can't get to Dropbox and Google Drives or whatever. So I did make a spot here on the Confluence site that has an area that you can drag and drop to load files. Maybe I don't see a drag and drop spot. I might have to get a little bit of assistance from Andrew to fix that up, but it should end up looking just like this kind of a page here, where files can easily be placed, right, just by dragging them there. So we have that area as well as the Dropbox and the Google. So somehow we're going to get all of our samples coming in ahead of time, so that on the January 9th session, we'll really be locked and loaded to understand what we can talk, what we can compare, what we can come ready to discuss. And then in these meetings where we do want to set clarifications and perspectives, for example, Rochelle, the fire, C-CDA on fire, Wednesday, December 12th. I tried to push it a little bit later than the other ones because we are still trying to get organized with Graham to see what he's going to have available for us. But this will be our session on December 12th to make sure that we have everything clear about what we're doing, what people are bringing, how we want that to work, what topics we want to make sure that we dig into so that we have a very productive session, quarter session on Saturday, Q4 for that. Make sense?
Yes.
Great. And this is basically the schedule that we're on. So if you miss anything, you can get caught up. And I will close by introducing next week's topic. So here's where we're going to get ourselves ready for this work on patient summary versus encounter summary and clinical notes. Folks who've been following the HL7 Structured Docs listserv have probably seen a really awesome post that Michael Clifton put up where he laid out a couple of scenarios. And he was really pressing on this question about if a patient came into a certain visit and they had an allergy and their reaction was just a mild rash or something like that. And then later, it turns out over the course of the year, they come in and that allergy is now giving them a much more severe reaction. If an encounter summary document were generated for that first visit back when the allergy was known only to have a mild reaction, what would be the right information to include in that encounter summary document? That's the kind of thing that we're trying to flesh out here to make sure that everybody is clear and understands the same view and the same reasons, the same rationale for why it is that encounter summary documents represent the information that was known to be true at the time of that encounter. And, you know, as much as we say it and we talk about it, there still seems to be a lot of implementer questions about that. Could be issues just within your system, not being able to easily represent information that way. Whatever it is, this is our opportunity to come together and really make sure that we're doing a good job of having the same expectations around what encounter summaries look like versus the old-fashioned, you know, CCD that everybody's got quite a bit of history with creating. And then we'll be talking about the use of these new clinical notes, and we're hoping that people are thinking about how they will be implementing clinical notes to release EMR information that's in narrative areas that don't right now get populated in some of the other structured sections, and bring samples and examples of where that's relevant and where that's helpful. Because another goal that we have to connect the CDA Implementation-A-Thon with other work that helps this activity be more valuable, we'd like to be able to utilize some of the samples that you implementers bring and we discuss. We'd like to be able to turn them into examples that would go through the CDA Examples Task Force, be vetted by a community of very discerning CDA experts that pick over every little detail about the file and get it as perfect as possible, and then send it off to structured documents to be approved. And it becomes a part of a resource that's the implementer community really finds helpful in terms of being able to go and quickly find a couple of examples of something as they, you know, take on trying to implement something new themselves. So clinical notes will be a good place where we can generate some of those kinds of examples. There are materials. Rochelle, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
Where do we know about, we have heard of Commonwealth, we see tweets and information about them. I know there's a meeting, but where do we find their implementation guide so we can prep for this meeting?
Very good question. I posted these. I went out and grabbed them for you, which probably doesn't help you navigate to them yourself, but you can Google search for them. But I put both the Carry Quality Commonwealth IG that they wrote and the companion guide from the 2015 certification. This is where you find the base templates got defined for birth sex, clinical notes. There's some background discussion on encounter summaries versus patient summaries. I would probably look to this one first. And then this is another writing over top of this with a larger group of people, some high participation from clinicians involved, and just another take at trying to explain it and make it more easily understood for implementers. So they really are a set of documents that you can look at together to try and get a good impression of what you're trying to do and what the spec is intending for us to do. And you can get them right here from the Confluence site.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thanks for doing that.
No problem. So that's your homework. Basically, go download these IGs from the Confluence site. I listed both of their names right there so you can find them in the resources area. And then between now and next week, the best way to do this is a little bit at a time. And if each week you set a little bit of time aside, this week, read these guides, read through there, and start thinking about how would you prepare or attempt to find from your repository of examples a good solid patient summary, a good solid encounter summary, or maybe you need to work on creating one of these, and then attempt to put a clinical notes section in one of them, or make a different version of a file and just build out a clinical notes section. But make a little plan for yourself. How would I produce these? How would I produce these samples? How would I attack the problem? Get started. See where you get stuck, because the best thing that we'll be able to do with our time next week is address questions. So I will plan on walking folks through the key areas in each of these guides and making sure that some of the spots that I think are controversial, or perhaps spots that people get stuck on usually, we'll stop on a couple of those, have some conversation about it, make sure everybody is getting the same information out of these resources. But then more importantly, if you've tried and you got stuck, it would be the perfect time to ask questions and get guidance or get straightened out. We'll share experience with other implementers. We'll see what we need to straighten out so that we would, by January 9th, be able to have examples like this already produced and available so we can learn from them while we're at the IAT. And that's about all I had for today. This document, this PowerPoint, if you load it, I have already put in there the little prep things for the rest. And each week I'll just be sliding the homework screen down a little bit and giving another assignment that helps us get ready for the next week. But this is going to be a living document as we go. So it's probably good to practice taking a copy of it off from Confluence and utilize it. At least go to slide 10 and see if you can make your way to these resources. What questions do you guys have? Dave, do you have any thoughts or parting comments from an HL7 point of view that you'd like to make about getting ready for Connect-A-Thon?
No, because I think you covered it before. Registration is up. Remember, you have to register as part of the Fire Connect-A-Thon. And if you have any questions about the registration, let me know. Just fire off an email to me.
All of our emails are listed here on that first introduction sheet, and they also are on the Confluence page. All right, well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I'm going to give you 10 minutes back in your day. share the links, tell your friends. We're trying to get a good representation. We definitely would like to see more EMR vendors participating in this, and it's worth it for all of us, data sharing partners, even people that you know you're sharing CDAs with, or that you know are making CDAs and could benefit from being a part of the community that's helping us converge and make things more similar, more expected, so that this gets a little bit easier. Invite them to come and give them a couple good reasons why they should come and support, be a part of this. Thanks very much. See you all next week.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.